Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where today we have another episode of A Game of Throws, this time starring the cool kids 20 here in the German Tier 8 premium battleship, the mighty Tirpitz. As you've no doubt noticed, this is the Black Friday version of the Tirpitz. There are various different black versions of ships in World of Warships, the Tirpitz obviously being one, the Massachusetts another. There are all kinds of popular premium ships that are now also available in black versions. And this came as a result of Wargaming trying to figure out how they could sell their most popular premium ships to you. Twice. Is there no end to their marketing genius? I know, I'm sitting here mocking anybody who was dumb enough to buy the same premium ship twice, but I did it. I've got two Tirpitzes, the regular version, which I snapped up the second it came out, because it was the first German battleship in the game, and it was the Tirpitz. And then I got the Black Friday version as well, because it's a really, really good ship, and I wanted two of them, because I'm stupid. So, it's okay to feel bad. Right, anyway, let's take a look at this matchmaking. Well, on the plus side, he's top tier. This is a tier 8 battle on the Crash Zone Alpha map. On the downside, there's a submarine, 3 destroyers, and an aircraft carrier in play. 3 things that make battleship players very, very nervous. It could be worse, of course. I mean, it can always be worse. There could be 2 submarines and 2 aircraft carriers in play, but the carrier on the enemy team is one of those Russian things. And I have no idea how to pronounce the name of that. The Pobeda, whatever. Russian tier 8 carrier. The fact that it's Russian is the problem. Because, of course, when Russian carriers were introduced, Wargaming made a big song and dance about how your anti-aircraft fire would actually matter, because carriers from the Russian line only make 1 strike. So anything that you shoot down from that initial strike reduces the amount of damage that you take. And everyone rejoiced, until they realised that Russian carriers are balanced around having some of their aircraft shot down in the first strike. Which is fine if you're sailing a ship that actually has good AA, and the Tirpitz does have pretty good AA. But if you're sailing a ship that does not have good AA, and you're getting targeted by a Russian carrier, you are, how can I put this? Is it okay to say this now? Yes, we're past the first 30 seconds of the video, YouTube won't care. You are proper fucked. Actually, it's a good job we are past the first 30 seconds of the video, as Cool Kids takes aim at and unleashes these 15-inch guns at the enemy Nürnberg right on the other side of the map. And the reason I say it's a good job we're past the first 30 seconds is because he scores a citadel and scores a huge amount of damage to that enemy tier 6 light cruiser right at the start of the battle, which appears to upset the captain of the Nürnberg. I'm not going to focus or zoom in on his comment in chat, but it's a very bad word. Yeah, that's one cruiser captain who's going to have to go to bed without his supper if his mother finds out what he said. Anyway, this is of course an episode of Game of Throws. I wonder if you can tell which team is going to throw, because it's not immediately obvious. Cool Kids team have just lost their Huron, taken out by the enemy carrier. That's a serious blow to morale. The Huron is a very, very capable destroyer, and it's immediately followed up by the sinking of their Shinonome, the black version of the Shinonome. Yeah, there's a lot of black ships in this battle, and the Shinonome, ooh, another nice citadel, lovely. I'm very surprised, well I probably shouldn't be because it's Wargaming after all, but I was very initially surprised to see the Shinonome available as a black version, because that's a ship that you can't actually buy. The only way of getting the Shinonome is to complete one of the campaigns. Well, there are now 2 ways of getting the Shinonome apparently. Actually play the game, or just throw money at your screen. I should probably get one. Yeah. Right, yeah, so not a great start. Team are down 2 of their 3 destroyers. This gives the enemy team a huge advantage. Or it would if Cool Kids team didn't have a carrier. More on that later. For now, back to the battle. Cool Kids getting some shots out against that Zeton. I pronounced it Zeiten at first, which is horribly, horribly wrong. And all of the Germans rushed to correct my pronunciation in the comments, but I'm very suspicious of Germans correcting my pronunciation because of the whole Gneisenau debacle. You remember that? I called it the Gneisenau. The Germans said, no, Jingles, The G is silent. I said, okay, it's the Nizer now. And then the very next video, the Germans all said, I can't believe you fell for that. We are Germans. Why would we put a letter in a word and not expect you to use it? What do you think we are, French? So, yeah. You know what you did, Germany. Shots out at the Atlantico. Yeah. Oh, the Barbada's coming back. He's really got it in for that Pensacola, hasn't he? Kind of understandable. I mean, the Pensacola does have better than average AA for a Tier 6 cruiser, but it's just better than average AA for a Tier 6 cruiser. Against Tier 8s, it does struggle, and against Tier 8 Russians, it stands no chance. I mean, it was the Atlantico that killed it, but the Barbada only stopped attacking that Pensacola this entire game in order to finish off the Huron. And, yeah. Bad news, he's been pinged by the submarine. Good news, he saw the sonar ping, he's got the airstrike off. Even better news, the second ping very, very nearly turned into a double ping. That was actually pretty well aimed, although thankfully not well aimed enough by the enemy submarine. He almost pinged the same spot twice. Cool Kid slammed the brakes on, pulling the turn, and yeah, he's gotten away with it. So that's good. What's not good is the fact that the team have just lost their submarine, in addition to 2 of their destroyers and that Pensacola. They are more than 400 points behind, and they control none of the caps, and they haven't scored a single kill until the Akazuki corrects that problem by scoring the team's first kill and eliminating the enemy Akatsuki. Meanwhile, Cool Kids is kind of in trouble. He's taken fire from all directions. That submarine is still lurking around. And now the enemy carrier is starting to get interested. He's on fire. Although he's not going to use the damage control on a single fire. Not while he has this much health remaining, at least. Oh look, there's the Nürnberg with the potty mouth. Oh, come on. That's the thing about when you're in a battleship and you're shooting at light cruisers, it's like feast or famine. You either overpenetrate and do basically no damage, or you blow them clean out of the water. There's never any middle ground, is there? Shots out again at the Nürnberg. He's managed to go undetected. The rear turrets were locked on, the front turrets maybe not. Oh, more hits. And he gets away with it again. So while everything's heating up down here, I don't know if you noticed, Cap Circle Charlie has just been taken by the Omono. That brand new all singing all dancing Japanese Tier 7 light cruiser. You'd have thought the enemy carrier would have had a word or two to say about that, but apparently he had better things to do. Oh, come on, Jingles, you can't blame the carrier for everything. No, you're right, that's fair, you can't. But, well, I mean, it was fairly obvious that a cap circle was being flipped. You can see it happening right there at the top of the screen. And the enemy team had no surface ships that were in a position to do anything about it. The carrier could have, but chose not to. Then again, it's likely that the carrier player was thinking, as Cool Kids' team suffer the loss of another battleship. Well, we do have 2 of the cap circles. The enemy team are almost down to double figures in points. You know, we're a good 600 points ahead. Does it really matter if we let them have 1 cap? Can't really argue with that logic. Unless, of course, you've watched an episode of A Game of Throws, in which case, yes, it does really matter if you let them have 1 cap. Some shots out at the Attigo there. Oh, more citadels. But sadly, no kills. Can anybody finish the Attigo off? Is the friendly carrier, the Parseval, going to pay any attention to the repeated warnings in chat from Connor Gaming for the win? Cool Kids division mate and the Albemarle to get the hell out of there? Who knows? Who can say? Oh, a kill! Fantastic. Well, it's about damn time. But is it going to be enough? The Parseval's finished off the Attigo. I almost called it the Akago there. Caught myself just in time. That is something that carriers are particularly good at, by the way, finishing off low health ships that other ships aren't really in a position to do anything about. But Cool Kids is in an extremely tough situation here. I mean, he's managed to finish off the Atlantico with the fires set by his secondaries, but he's sailing right into a crossfire. And actually, his situation is even worse than he realises. He'll find, oh, hang on a second. Oh, a light cruiser at that kind of range? Beached on an island, broadside on? And of course everything either misses or over penetrates. Oh, and there it is. There's the worst situation than he expected. See the amount of damage that one torpedo did. Those were not airdropped torpedoes. Cool Kids has a destroyer behind him, and the enemy team have just sunk another battleship. So, yeah. He should finally, I mean, you know, you throw enough shit at the wall and eventually, surely, some of it's going to stick and he's going to sink that. What is the Zeton doing? Oh no, there's a Massachusetts coming in. Oh, the Zeton is completely ignoring him in order to chase down the carrier. Oh, and speaking of which, here comes the enemy carrier. You know, as if Cool Kids didn't have enough problems. Well, we kind of have a good news, bad news situation here. Admittedly, most of it bad. The good news, he finally nails that cruiser. The bad news, despite repeated warnings to move, the carrier is just sitting there, but the Zeton is so focused on taking the carrier out, he's completely ignoring Cool Kids. Well, he's not completely ignoring him, he dropped some torpedoes, which missed. Cool Kids gets the Zeton. The Kagero momentarily popped up, he is behind him, that is really, really bad, and now there's a Massachusetts closing in, and he's still being attacked by the carrier. He gets some shots out at the Mackinson, best available target, he's just sitting there broadside on. The range isn't fabulous, but it's still the best available target to shoot at. The Barbada drops torpedoes from directly ahead. I think, yeah, he's only going to take one of them. More shots out against the Mackinson, who is now inside secondary range. The team have just lost another cruiser. The enemy team are still 400 points ahead with 2 of the 3 cap circles. The Mackinson is just refusing to die. The Massachusetts is getting uncomfortably close and also has amazing secondaries, arguably better than those on the Tirpitz. The carrier is coming back for a skip bomb attack, which hits, sets a fire. He puts that fire out, focuses the secondaries on the Mackinson. Actually, he can give him... This has got to be a kill, surely. Finally, now, the Massachusetts. And the skip bombers are coming back. I thought for a second here he was going to go for a ram, but he doesn't need to. He has torpedoes. It does involve giving an awful lot of broadside to the Massachusetts, and the Massachusetts nearly ends in there and then, but the Massachusetts is now in all kinds of trouble. Burning from stem to stern, I mean, as is Cool Kids, but the Massachusetts is dead. He isn't. Here comes the carrier again, who I think is parked just on the other side of that island. Is that going to be just the one, maybe? Yeah, just the one torpedo strike. And here comes the carrier again. And, oh yeah, he's dead now. Yeah, double fire, damage control on cooldown. I was just amazed he survived as long as he did, and did as much damage as he did. But now, it's 4 against 3. They're still 200 points behind, more than 200 points behind. They still only have 1 of the 3 cap circles, but for the first time in this battle, they actually have the numbers advantage. And hilariously, the friendly carrier... Honestly, you couldn't make this shit up, right? Didn't move while he was being attacked by basically everybody, with only Cool Kids and Connor Gaming for the win in the Albemarle trying to defend him. But now that there's no longer a threat, now he's moving. Because of course. Meanwhile, the Akazuki is in all kinds of trouble. He was forced to evacuate his smokescreen because he didn't want to get torpedoed, and with enemy aircraft overhead, he's instantly spotted, and was such an inviting target there that even the Hatsuharu thought it was worth taking the risk of shooting at him. The problem here, of course, is that the Hatsuharu, because, you know, it's an Akazuki shooting back at you, instantly smoked up. Which means that the Akazuki is still visible. And here comes the carrier. And now, yeah. Instead of going for the Hatsuharu, that the Akazuki died spotting, the friendly carrier is instead going for the enemy carrier. Now, I don't want to be too critical here, because all 3 surviving enemy vessels are extremely dangerous. The carrier, obviously, is a massive threat, but a destroyer is also a massive threat, as is a submarine. Oh, hang on, there was a sonar ping. Oh, that was a sonar ping? Connor Gaming is obviously running his hydro, and he saw the torpedo bombers coming in anyway. There's the submarine. Strike aircraft out. Has to turn to attempt to dodge. I mean, good luck with that. Even more airdropped torpedoes. And of course, as Cool Kids found out the hard way, the closer you get to a carrier, the quicker it can cycle its attack squadrons. He's managed to nail the submarine. This is good. There's still a very angry smokescreen down there, spitting shells at everybody. And of course, the closer he gets to the enemy carrier, the more dangerous it becomes. And it is parked right on the other side of that island. He's got the Normandy with him, though. And the second they corner this island, they're going to be able to nuke that carrier. Assuming he is still hiding on the other side of the island. But judging by how quickly he's recycling, and he is, of course, but you could tell by how quickly he was cycling his attack squadrons. He's right there. So the second Connor Gaming rounds this island, that carrier is going to get nuked with torpedoes. And if the carrier doesn't kill the Normandy, and the Albemarle doesn't finish him, and let's face it, the Albemarle is probably going to be able to finish him, we're basically looking at a dead enemy carrier. Kind of surprised that the Barbada is just sitting there and didn't try to get out of here, but I'm more surprised by the fact that the friendly carrier is still trying to attack an enemy carrier who's about to die to torpedoes and heavy cruiser guns from the Albemarle. The Barbada has managed to sink the Normandy. It's now 2-on-2, but the Barbada is about to die. And yet the friendly carrier is still attacking him, even though the Albemarle clearly has this. And now the Hatsuharu's smokescreen has dissipated, so any indication of where that Hatsuharu is has long gone. Gee, if only the team had an aircraft carrier who could have circled the smokescreen and dealt with the Hatsuharu in exactly the same way that the enemy carrier dealt with the Akazuki. Yeah, about that. Now the only indication that they have where that enemy Hatsuharu is, the last surviving ship on the enemy team, by the way, a ship that they definitely need to find and sink in order to win, because there's no way they're going to win this one on points. Not in the time remaining, and not with the 400-point lead that the enemy team have, which means all that Hatsuharu has to do is run away. And the only indication that they might have of where that Hatsuharu might be is whether or not Connor Gaming here in the Albemarle is spotted. Well, that's not strictly true. I mean, that's not even close to being true. I mean, it's true right now, but the team have a fucking carrier. Aircraft are way faster than destroyers. Connor's even firing his guns off now just to see whether or not the increased detection bloom gets him spotted, so he can hazard a guess as to where the Hatsuharu that they must sink in order to win is. And it's not like they haven't been suggesting that the carrier maybe do some spotting. He's pinging the map right now, but if you scroll back in chat for the last 3 minutes, they've been begging the carrier to find that destroyer. And what's he doing with his aircraft? Other than nothing, he's got some patrol fighters and his rocket planes circling the Albemarle. What good are they going to do? For a start, the enemy carrier's been sunk, and they're not going to spot anything that the Albemarle isn't. Here's a suggestion. Maybe send your aircraft somewhere where you don't already have surface ships, like, for example, the area on the map where everybody's been telling you to send them for the last 4 minutes. And sure enough, when he eventually does, he spots the Hatsuharu. In fact, it wasn't the aircraft that spotted the Hatsuharu. The Hatsuharu got spotted because he's shooting at the carrier. The Hatsuharu was actually trying to throw. The Hatsuharu was actually trying to get another kill that he didn't need. Realised his torpedoes weren't going to hit the Parsifal in time and opened up with his guns. So, despite the enemy team's best efforts to throw that one, oh, man, no, it hurts too much. Making these, I hope you lot understand the pain and suffering I go through making these videos for you. Cool Kids 20 and Connor Gaming for the win in the Tirpitz B in the Albemarle. I realise that your backs must hurt after that colossal attempt at a carry, but honestly, move over. I need to lie down too. And on that bombshell, that's it for today. I hope you've been entertained, and as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.